The State of Crypto is presented by Tron, connecting the world to the power of cryptocurrency.
All right, so we just took a look at the markets. Markets remain steady despite the regulatory news, like I just said. More news this morning. Binance US says users should withdraw US dollars as soon as possible as the SEC engages in, quote, extremely aggressive and intimidating tactics against the company. Time now to check in with CoinDesk Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor Nick Day, who's also the editor of CoinDesk's State of Crypto newsletter. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning.
All right. So Binance US is saying that it's transitioning to an all crypto exchange. Tell us about this latest move and what it means.
Yeah, so obviously last night / this morning, Binance US announced that it was suspending USD deposits and would soon be suspending USD withdrawals, recommending all customers withdraw USD as soon as possible. It's set to take effect on June 13th, which, again, recall that's the same day as a hearing against the SEC, in which the SEC has asked for a temporary restraining order to freeze Binance's management from being able to access Binance US customer funds. Obviously, this is an escalation, right? We saw earlier this week Binance US delisted or announced it would end trading with a number of token pairs against the USDT stable. And stopping USD transactions entirely on their platform. So kind of suggests they're a little spooked.
It suggests more than that. I mean, from what I gather from that announcement, it's their banking relationships are spooked. Basically, it reads as if their banks are saying, "Look, we're going to give you a week. I mean, like we don't want to cause problems here, but you got to close down." I mean, this is basically it's like honestly, like, what are you going to do? You're going to trade crypto for other crypto on Binance US. Why are you going to even bother if you can't get the money out? You still have to transfer it out somewhere else. If Binance US wasn't really that big of a player in the US to begin with. It's not like it's not like they were Coinbase was shaking in its boots. But this sounds like the banks are the ones that are pushing this.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think, a solid interpretation of what they said. What did they say? Our banking partners are preparing to pause fiat withdrawal channels as soon as June 13th, is the phrasing from the tweet itself. So yeah, you're absolutely right that this could be a move driven by Binance US's banks, which again, some of the allegations we've heard coming out about the banks, specifically the fact that Binance's management, which is Binance, CZ, that they have access to these funds might be something regulators are really concerned about. It's certainly the cause of the cause of action for the temporary restraining order application. It's also fascinating to kind of see the contrast between Binance US here and Coinbase, which is so far, they do not have any of the same issues right now. They're outright refusing to do things like shutter staking program. So two very different responses so far.
Except I would say that it sounds, I mean, like when we look at it, the two cases are vastly different, and I don't know, maybe not vastly, but good, because in both cases they're talking, they're talking about the similarities are trading securities. But the thing with Binance is far more egregious in terms of what they're saying that are alleging Binance did is that, the commingling of funds. And then again, we always say, yachts are involved. I mean, like, this is
one mention of yacht. I mean, just to straight up the fact that, obviously the SEC has, made allegations in a court of law. Binance is, we're waiting on that response. But, one of the details that came out over the court documents, allegations that millions of dollars, hundreds of $1 million, up to $12 billion in Binance customer funds might have been sent to market makers and other entities that are owned by, CZ. Clearly these allegations of, financial mismanagement are really serious.
FTX in magnitude. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And a lot of those are tied to the, allegations that CZ and Binance management had access to Binance US's bank accounts. So, to your earlier point about the banking partners being nervous, it could be that these allegations have, really struck a chord, because if the banks themselves have allowed, someone other than who they KYC'd and who they onboarded access to those funds, that's probably not great for them either. That's the kind of thing that might trigger closer scrutiny from their own regulators.
I think KYC isn't even on the top 3 problems with this. I mean, this is like, oh yeah, we're giving the money to the CEO to do stuff. Okay, that's basically
to a market maker to bolster liquidity on the exchange that he owns.
Maybe some of that money went to go to paying for lunch with Gary Gensler back in 2019. That would be funny.
Yeah, that's definitely happening.
That would be a riot. Someone look into that. Ian Allison, where are you?
Nick, we've talked about these 2 cases all week. They're obviously very different. We've just unpacked the differences. Any indication that Coinbase might take drastic measures like this in the near future?
Not yet. I think the biggest difference here, beyond the allegations themselves, if we look at the SEC's conduct, the SEC applied for that temporary restraining order against Binance US, and CZ. It has done no such thing in the Coinbase case. It also, it's worth noting that the 2 cases are filed in different jurisdictions. The Binance case was filed in the DC District Court. The Coinbase case was filed in the Southern District of New York. So, clearly they're also kind of approaching the cases themselves a little bit differently. If you're in New York, that's where we've seen most of the cases. Those are kind of more the financial stuff. So the case itself being relatively mild in, terms of the allegations and the details spread out within the pages of the complaint. Clearly, the SEC is just looking at this as okay, well, Coinbase is doing crypto exchange stuff, and we don't like that. The Binance, accusations are, as we've said, much more serious. Straight up, I don't want to say that they are, potentially criminal in nature, but they're the kind of things where
is not. I don't think that's a misdemeanor.
Right. Yeah. Like we've seen. I don't know if we've seen this specifically before, but the fact that they filed it in DC kind of suggests that they're treating this as a. I don't want to say more serious either, because it implies the other one's not serious, but like kind of more serious from like a very specific, criminal national security perspective type thing. So, the big question is, will there be more to come on that front? And we're still trying to figure that out. But clearly the SEC is approaching these 2 cases slightly differently. So Coinbase, I think right now, there isn't quite the same need for it to do any kind of, drastic measures. It's not delisting any trading pairs. It's not, it's not even stopping a staking program, which, 10 different states have so far come out, and, we've got multiple orders and cease and desist and stuff. So Coinbase clearly right now is in not as severe a hole to, deal with this right now.
Hey, Nick, what's the buzz you're getting? I mean, like you talk to like very powerful people. I don't want to say who you talk to, but I think let's just say they're pretty very important. What's the buzz?
I mean, it's complicated, right? On the one hand, the SEC has telegraphed this for quite a while, going back all the way to the Biaxi case from last year, for example, or the Ishan Wahi case, the former Coinbase project manager who was accused of insider trading. The SEC has clearly telegraphed what it's doing for quite a while. The Coinbase case lines up perfectly with that telegraphing, right? With the Biaxi case, with the product manager guy, with the Bittrex case from earlier this year. So, on the one hand, the SEC has for a while now said that it believes crypto exchanges should be split up into the 3 different kind of components of a securities trading entity. So the clearinghouse, the broker, and the exchange itself. And now crypto is going to discover what that looks like, what that effort is going to look like. The Binance thing, on the other hand, clearly much more serious. And that's the one I think has a lot of people. I don't want to say concerned. I keep saying I don't want to say, and I say it anyway.
Say it. You want to say it.
Yeah,
just say it.
Don't say it anyway.
Just say it.
I mean, very self-reflective say. The Binance case is clearly a lot more serious, and it's clearly, catching a lot more people's attention just because of the allegations. I mean, this is the world's biggest crypto exchange, and right now a pretty powerful federal regulator has accused it of doing playing all sorts of games with people's money. That's a pretty serious allegation. And Binance's response so far has been, okay, well, this is regulation by enforcement. We disagree with some of these charges. We're going to vigorously defend ourselves. Oh, and by the way, we're also shutting down the USD access on one of our affiliates. It's not a great response right now. It's kind of they're taking this seriously.
Nick, thank you very much for joining us this morning. You'll be back on Monday, I'm sure, to unpack all things regulation. That was CoinDesk Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor Nick Day. Don't forget to sign up for the State of Crypto newsletter on CoinDesk.com.